What's up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source on this Friday night. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and your family. And I think this game just shows where the Celtics are. Yes, you're playing a bad team in the Indiana Pacers, but the ability of the role players, not just Jaylen Brown, but guys like Luka Garza, guys like, in this game, Sam Hauser stepping up and just putting a bad team away early in the game. Now, this game didn't start well for the Celtics. They gave up 40 points in the first quarter. I know the Pacers were hitting their threes very similar to like the game on Monday, where the Celtics just start slow in a lot of these games, and I'm not sure why they start slow in these games, but it doesn't really matter because you just outnumber this team in every position in terms of talent. And as this game goes on, there's never a question of who's going to win this game. After that first quarter where the Celtics sort of come out slow, they put up 45 points in the second quarter after giving up 39 in the first. Right? They don't even look back from there. Peyton Pritchard has a fantastic game. Sam Hauser has a brilliant shooting performance. Jaylen Brown continues his 30-point streak and is one game closer to breaking the Celtics record for consecutive games with 30 points, which is at 9, so we can set that tie the record against Portland on Sunday. The record's held by Larry Bird at the moment. But I think we just start with the impact of Luka Garza. And I've said this multiple times, Luka Garza isn't great on the defensive end, and that's partly why he's been absent for much of this season in terms of rotation minutes. But he does one thing very well, and that is offensive rebound. And if you're going to be giving up offensive rebounds on one end, on your defensive end, just based on the size of this team, it doesn't hurt to get them back on the offensive end and give your team extra possessions, which the Celtics, I'm not saying they badly need against a team like the Pacers, but you need it against other teams, tougher teams coming up later in this road trip and just later in the season when you play teams out west. And I think Joe Mazzulla is realizing that you can't play single big or sometimes no big for entire stretches of game. You need a center out there because you're just going to get attacked way too much on the defensive end. And their defense has come down a little bit in the last couple of games until Luka Garza has gone on or has been sort of instituted into the rotation. And it's not the defense itself that's great. I think the defense itself has been good from the Celtics all season long, regardless of whether there's a center out there or not. But it's the cleaning up those extra possessions, allowing your defense to get one stop and get out in transition. Right? The teams that have been hurting the Celtics have not been the teams that have just attacked them off the dribble, because they have great defensive point of attack players in Jordan Walsh, in Ugo Gonzalez, and Derek White, and Jaylen Brown when they're on their game as well. Right? They don't have a problem making the initial stop. It's when a team can sort of break up the defensive scheme by getting a offensive rebound or just a turnover or any sort of loose ball scenario where the Celtics are not in the right positions and they're sort of out of a little out of whack, and teams can just exploit that with catching through corner threes and just drives to the basket, and it's just hurt teams. The Knicks did this, the Pacers, the Wolves did it down the stretch as well. The teams that have beat the Celtics have done a great job of basically taking advantage of the Celtics' lack of size, and just having another center out there takes that away entirely because, you might start to get attacked a little bit more off the dribble as Luka Garza is not going to do a great job of staying in front of guys as a guy like Jordan Walsh, Ugo Gonzalez. But the benefits of having him out there with the rebounding outweigh any sort of, problem that you're going to have out on the perimeter. At least so far, right? That could change for sure, right? Teams could start to game plan against, a guy like Luka Garza, and it could become a problem, and Joe Mazzulla might have to think of a new scenario or maybe go back to the small ball lineup. But right now, with the way you're playing Luka Garza in sparing minutes, coming off the bench in short spurts, you're still playing a bunch of lineups with a guy like Ugo Gonzalez at that 5 position, which he brings a lot of length and size to him as well, so he's not a bad option. It's a little bit bigger playing Ugo Gonzalez than your typical small ball lineup, which is great for the Celtics. But just that extra bit of size, as a rim protector, but also as that rebounder, just makes a huge stretch, and it showed tonight, right? You're not expecting him to do anything, on the offensive end except clean up misses, which he does a great job of, giving your team extra possessions, right? You're not running any plays for him. As long as he can, make an impact around the rim on the offensive end, he's not going to be a liability, right? You don't want him just standing out there, but if he's going to, impact defensive players, set screens, and, roll to the basket, which he did a great job in this game off of a pass from Peyton Pritchard where he sets a giant screen. Pascal Siakam has no choice but to sort of come up and pressure Peyton Pritchard because of how big the screen was. Right, I think it was TJ McConnell that was guarding him, was just so far away that Pascal Siakam had no choice but to step up, and that allows for the easy sort of bounce pass through for Peyton Pritchard. And Peyton Pritchard's done a great job as of recently of giving that sort of bounce pass on the roll. Instead of the lob to the rim, he's able to bounce pass it through to a guy like Neemias Queta or Luka Garza in this instance. And it feeds it right into their hands to go right up for a dunk or a layup. It's a great move that, Peyton Pritchard's not going to be able to throw it over the top with, how short he is, right? He's not going to be able to, get it over a taller defender. And so it's working well to be able to bounce pass it under the defender's arms and right into the pocket of a player. But as I was saying, right, Garza in this game, he has 15 points, which is just a huge benefit, right? 5 of 5 on field goals. He hits a 3 as well, right? Any points you get from him that are, out of the context of just cleaning up missed opportunities, right? If he is out on the perimeter making threes, that's just such a level above what you're expecting him to do. And I think we all forget, he didn't have a great couple of years in Minnesota. He was a college player of the year. So he does have talent. It's just that, I think the biggest problem with him has just been Joe Mazzulla's confidence in the defense holding up, the on-ball defense, at least on the perimeter. And so far, I know you're playing the Pacers, which, are the worst team this season on offense. Hard to believe that, I know you lose Halliburton, you lose some other guys, Turner goes to Milwaukee, but, how are you this bad now on offense? Defense has been the problem, the Achilles heel for the Pacers in the last many seasons. Why now are you just such a liability on the offense, or a struggle on the offensive end if you're the Pacers? I don't get that. But to wrap up the the Garza minutes, right? He has 4 rebounds. I believe he has 2 of them offensive rebounds, right? He plays 26 minutes, right? Joe Mazzulla is realizing the necessity of having a center out there at almost all times. Queta plays 21 minutes. Garza was such an impact, not even, in the box score, right? Because, just picking up fouls while trying to get a rebound, or, maybe he doesn't get the rebound, but he boxes out someone else for someone else to come in and get the rebound. Stuff that's not going to show up in the box score, but it makes such a big impact for your team's success. I do want to move on to the performances of the stars on this team. Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard have fantastic performances. Peyton Pritchard, over the last month or so, really throughout the month of December, has just had some brilliant performances. Obviously, Jaylen Brown continues to just carry this team in a way that nobody expected coming into the season. This team is 19-11, and they're third place in the Eastern Conference, sole possession of third place. They're only 2 games back of the Knicks for second place. If we forget, or if we remember that 3 of these losses were in that first 3 games of the season, now I know it counts, but let's, for example, just, imagine that we didn't have those losses. You get rid of those losses. Throughout the rest of the season, you've gone, 18-8, which is on pace for, 55, 60 wins. So, this team, besides those last 3 losses, they're on a 50-win pace. Just incredible the way this team is playing right now. And yes, you're taking advantage of bad opponents right now, but at some point, you just need to get momentum. And, with the way the Celtics are playing right now, yes, they had a couple bad losses in there to the Pistons, to the Bucks. But that being said, for the most part, they have just rolled through the Eastern Conference. And we haven't played many Western Conference opponents. That's coming up now when we go out west. But we will. We'll see when it comes how they handle these Western Conference opponents. But so far, so good. But before we get to Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard, I think we have to talk about Sam Hauser. And Sam Hauser, it's been a rough season for him. He had some early games where he was on fire. He had a slump, through November and the early part of December where he just couldn't get anything to go down. I mean, he was virtually unplayable with the way he was playing. And over the last couple games, he started to come back, and he has a game like this where he goes 8 of 9 from 3. He hits, what does he finish? He finishes with, if I'm correct, I believe it's 25 points he has. He has 23 points in 17 minutes, 7 of 8 from 3. He knocks down 2 free throws as well, 4 rebounds as well. And at a point, if you're out there and you're doing nothing else, but you're knocking down threes, and some of the threes he hit were just ridiculous. The only thing he missed, actually, was an end of shot clock 3 where he just throws it up for fun. It looked like he wasn't even trying to get, a good shot or anything in that moment. He just throws it up, hoping for it to fall. Celtics were up 20 at this point. But that being said, if Sam Hauser comes in and he does anything, it's not like Garza's situation where you're not expecting him to make threes. It's sort of the other way around where he's coming in only for his offense, and he's coming in to just hit threes off of screens. That's what he does. He comes around screens, he grabs the ball, and he has the quickest release, it feels like, in the NBA. He just comes around the screen, catches the ball, and right up for a 3. And that's what he does. And when they're flying, it's just incredible to watch someone shoot like that. When you make, 5 threes in a row like he had in this game, where he just one after another, they go down. Nothing misses from him. You take a game that's a close game, 5-10 point lead, and you just open it up to a 20-point lead in a matter of 3 minutes. It goes from a 10-point lead to a 20-point lead, and you're like, wow, the Celtics just dominated the Pacers. But really, it's just one guy that hits a couple of threes right in a row, and it just changes the entire storyline of a game. But yeah, let's move on to Jaylen Brown, and we'll finish up with Peyton Pritchard as we wrap up the show. Once again, the Celtics beat the Pacers 140-122. They are 18-11 on the season, 8-6 on the road. This game really wasn't as close as the box score says. They put their scrubs in obviously for the final 6 minutes of the game, something like that. Funny enough, Jaylen Brown, we'll talk about him in a second, but he actually comes back in to get to his 30-point piece. I'm wondering if he begged Joe Mazzulla to put him in because, that isn't usually something the Celtics do where they chase records and stats. But, I feel like with the amount of workload Jaylen Brown has this season, I think it's nice. It's a nice thing for Joe Mazzulla to do to support the player that's just carrying this team right now. But that being said, you do want him to get a little bit of rest as he is playing every game. He's only missed one game, and yes, the Celtics are 2-0 without him, but that's not going to go on for much longer. But Peyton Pritchard, I think this was his best game of the season. Yes, he had a 42-point piece, or maybe he had a 35-point piece. I forget what it was. Maybe it was Jaylen Brown that had the 42-point piece. But Peyton Pritchard, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 assists, 3 turnovers, a steal. Peyton Pritchard, the smallest guy on the court, most nights, almost every time he plays, and his ability just to get to the basket, right? We already know the threes are a thing, right? When he's knocking down threes off the dribble, he's a fantastic player. But just him weaving his way into the basket around, bigger forwards, around All-NBA defensive guards, around centers, to get into a basket for a layup, and he still doesn't dunk. Very unfortunate. He had a great opportunity in this game where he could have dunked on sort of a collision between, I think it was TJ McConnell and Pascal Siakam or whoever it was, and he just gets the ball off of a rebound for a wide open dunk, and he still just lays it in lightly. Pretty sad. I wish he would dunk. I know he can dunk. I don't know why. Maybe he can't dunk because there's so many opportunities, and I don't think he's ever dunked in a game, let alone practice or whatever. But who knows about practice? But in a game, even wide open transition dunks, transition opportunities, he never dunks. He just lightly lays it in. But that being said, his ability to get to the basket and play like SGA in a sorts, where he just bounces off of defenders, goes up for mid-range shots over centers, goes sort of fakes, gets the defender to jump, and then steps through and lays it in. Stuff that you think all NBA guards would do. Stuff that players 6'3" and above would be able to do. Not a 6 foot guard that is, just undersized, just incredibly shifty. That's how he does it, really. Just shifty, just, basically unpredictable plays. We like to say he's unguardable. And it's true. Like, how in the fact is he doing this stuff? Ever since that slow start, ever since they moved him off the ball and put Derek White on the ball, ever since they put Peyton Pritchard on the ball and took Derek White off the ball, he's just been incredible. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up here with Jaylen Brown. And to be honest, I don't know how much more you can say about Jaylen Brown. Just the stuff he's doing each and every single night to put this team in a position to win. And in this game, he has around 24 points with about, entering the fourth quarter. Let's say that. I think that's when it was. He has 24 points or whatever entering the fourth quarter. And obviously he starts on the bench for the fourth quarter. And the Celtics are up 20 at this point. And around the 6-minute mark, he comes back into the game. And he's out there for, 1 to 2 minutes. Something like that. And, the Celtics are still up by 20. And Joe Mazzulla's going to put the scrubs in. And he sees the 3 players, Ugo Gonzalez, Bill Shireman, Jordan Walsh, whoever it was, coming to the scorer's table. And he just hits these 2 off-the-dribble threes that are moves that you see some of the best off-the-dribble step-back 3 players make. That's not Jaylen Brown's game. That's Anthony Edwards' game at at least that's one of Anthony Edwards' moves. The off-the-dribble. Just ball handling, making your defender hesitate and then stepping back, sidestep threes. Stuff that Jaylen Brown does not do. He doesn't shoot threes like that. He shoots occasional quarter threes, or he shoots occasional threes where he'll sort of, on the transition, he'll sort of drive in, stop, take a step back and shoot a 3. But he's never, dancing with his defenders. He never does that. And I just think Jaylen Brown's on a different level this year. The fact that he is like, you know what? I want to get to my 30-point mark. I see Joe Mazzulla coming to take me out. and I'm just going to just ISO. It doesn't really matter. I'm not taking away from the game at this point with the game out of reach. And I'm just going to do my own thing. A little bit selfish, but at this point, Jaylen Brown's earned it. The fact that you can just do that whenever you want, you're like, yeah, I'm 6 points away from 30 points, 8 straight games, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to hit these 2 ridiculous threes that I've never seen Jaylen Brown hit like that. Just an incredible streak that Jaylen Brown's on right now. And obviously, throughout the entire game, he's making plays for others. He's rebounding. Right in this game, I believe he has, if I'm not mistaken, 3 rebounds, but 4 assists, 4 steals as well. Right, so he's picked up his defensive intensity, getting points in transition, just doing all the little dirty work that you wouldn't expect someone that is playing so many minutes a night to then be able to do on the defensive end as well. The effort that he's putting in, the energy on the defensive end to then be able to go do it on the offensive end as well. It's incredible. We see players like LeBron, Luka, they don't do it on the defensive end. That's part of the problem with the Lakers right now. And just the fact that the Celtics have 2 players that are like that, Jaylen Brown and obviously Jason Tatum when he comes back, 2 of your stars that are willing to put in the effort on the defensive end, shows the difference between the mentality of the Celtics franchise as a whole versus other NBA teams. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow on social media. We will be back. I'm not sure when. I am going to Panama actually for New Year's with my family. So I'm not sure on my schedule. We'll do a couple videos. We'll have a podcast episode or 2. But I'm not sure on whether we'll do live post-game shows or not. But I'll keep you updated. You can check out the Instagram for updates on when we do this. And yeah, until next time, go Celtics.